Hi guys, it's time for another useless art piece that I'll proudly display on my shelf, where it will slowly gather dust. But that's okay, because dust adds character. It's basically a free weathering effect. Anyway, let's make something future me will have to clean.
Okay.
Like always, we'll start with the head, no reason, it's just tradition at this point. We'll start with the main shape, which is of course a round shape because everything starts as a potato. Then we'll bulk up the mouth and cheek area. I'll immediately add the nose to establish the center of the face, basically the face's GPS. For the eyes, nothing fancy, just a simple football shape, nice and basic like my personality. And of course, it needed some brows. I also added some hair, nothing too crazy. Just simple chunks to suggest form, because I'm not about to sculpt individual hairs and lose my sanity. I cut the top and bottom because our little friend is getting a mechanical dinosaur headdress. Yes, it's exactly as chaotic as it sounds. After baking it, I gave it a bit of sanding to smooth the surface and remove imperfections. Now comes the fun part. We're creating the mechanical dino head. Time to turn our cute little character into a tiny robot paleontologist. Brace yourselves, this is going to be epic. I'll start with the top part, blocking out our dino's stupid square face. I simply slap it on top of the character's head so we can establish the proportions. Nothing precise, just eyeball it. Right away, I work on the mechanical details, like separating the panels and adding a hinge joint for the jaw. It's where this thing stops being just a hat and starts feeling like a tiny robot dinosaur. I sanded the edges to give it a slight contortion. I just think it looks more mechanical that way. Now it's time for the jaw. I simply slap a flat rectangular piece at the bottom of his face and start trimming it to size. Character design. Give it a weird head, add a few fangs and horns, ignore proportions, and boom, you have a monster nobody asked for but everyone secretly loves. Now I prepare a flat disc for the jaw hinge. This little guy will be the pivot point for all the chomping action. Even though our character is silly and exaggerated, the mechanical parts still need to feel like they could actually work. Like, the jaw hinge has to look solid enough to chomp, the panels should make sense, and the gears, well, maybe not actually spin. But my brain has to believe they could. It's this weird balance between adorable chaos and tiny engineering. For the teeth, I prepared a bunch of equally sized trapezoid shapes. Next, I grab some strong glue and line up the teeth on the mouth. The unbaked clay doesn't really want to stick to the hardened stuff. If yours is acting stubborn, strong glue or petroleum gel usually does the trick. It's like convincing a cat to take a bath. I also added these bolts on each corner of the panels to give it a more mechanical look. I created two larger bolts to attach to the head. I wanted them to give that Frankenstein-y look, like the mechanical parts are actually holding him together. Now it's time to move on to the body. Let's see if I can make it as ridiculous and charming as the head. Like always, I start by blocking out the main shape using aluminum foil and a thick layer of clay. Next, I added the arms. I wanted them slightly raised, like he's trying to mimic a classic T-Rex pose. I apply a thin sheet of clay to outline his shirt, just enough to suggest clothing before we get into the details. If you're thinking, hey, I want to make tiny weird characters too, good news. I actually teach this stuff on Skillshare. My courses revolve around clay sculpting and character design, and I walk you through the full process, from sketching ideas, planning shapes, and choosing materials. So whether you're a complete beginner or you already mess around with clay, there's something there for you. I'll put the link in the description if you want to check it out, and maybe turn your own ideas into tiny sculptures that slowly take over your desk. I want him to have a mechanical dino tail, so I prepared this cone-shaped piece. Then I added panels and spikes, similar to the head's design, to keep the theme consistent. When it comes to character design, sometimes less is more. For this little guy, I focused on just three main elements: the dino costume, the chibi proportions, and the mechanical details. If you pile on too many ideas, it just confuses people, and honestly me too. Keeping it simple lets each feature shine, and the audience instantly gets what's going on. 3 strong ideas are way better than 10 random ones fighting for attention. I also decided to add one of those tiny Godzilla hand puppets on one hand. I just think it's adorable. Plus, it adds a bit of personality, like he's a dino wearing a dino. Sometimes one small, playful detail is all you need to make a character feel more alive. For this one, I want to go with a classic Godzilla look. Now he has a puppet to scare his friends and start absolute chaos at the kids' party. Now let's do his shoes. Simple, clean, laces in front, toe cover, and a flat shoe shape to match the chibi style. When I work in chibi style, I always focus on the recognizable elements first and exaggerate them. Chibi isn't about realism, it's about readability. So if it's a shoe, I make the laces big and chubby. If it's a head, I go extra large. Small details come later, because if the main shapes don't read, no amount of tiny lines will save it. Exaggeration is what makes Chibi cute, clear, and fun. Now that all the parts are done, it's finally time to assemble our character. Now it's time to paint our character. My weapon of choice is an airbrush. For the colors, I'm using teal for the mechanical parts, mainly because I love teal and I make the rules here. You know, painting is kind of like life, sometimes smooth, sometimes messy, and sometimes you spill a little color and just call it art. In an age of AI, people crave anything real, and there's nothing more real than imperfection. Every little smudge, every uneven line, every slightly chaotic brushstroke tells a story. The airbrush can make things look perfect, but the tiny mistakes, that's where the character truly comes alive. Half the time, it doesn't go the way I planned, and yet somehow that's exactly what makes it special. So while I'm adding these layers and blending colors, I'm reminded imperfection isn't failure. It's proof that something was made by hand, by someone who cared, and that's what gives it soul. I removed the bolts so I could add these white and orange lines, like the ones you always see on construction sites. It just makes the character feel heavier and more industrial looking. I did the same on the front, but used a lighter color to add some interest and contrast. The colors looked a little too clean, so I applied a watered down dark color. It adds some weathering and helps blend the colors together. I wanted some decals for his shirt, so I printed Godzilla art on transfer paper. Honestly, I had no idea which design or size would work, so I just printed a bunch. More is more, right? In the end, I decided to go with the black design. It just felt the best for the shirt. And just like that, our character is done. Let me show you the final shots.
Blackbird Sunday, backseat tune, pair of bluebirds pick around on the roof. Mother Earth holds.
There you go, guys. I hope you liked our new build. I'll see you next time.